Okay, so quick question. When's the last time you were actually happy and you made it aesthetic? You didn't, did you? You didn't make a playlist for it, didn't sit by the window with your coffee looking all cinematic, didn't screenshot it and post it with some lowercase caption. But the sad stuff? Oh, that you curated. And I think that's kind of insane when you actually sit with it. Because we all say we want to be happy. That's like the whole point, right? That's the goal. And yet sadness is the thing we romanticize. Sadness is the thing we build entire aesthetics around, entire personalities, entire TikTok feeds. So what's actually going on there? Because here's the thing, and this is what I want to get into today. I don't think most people realize the moment sadness stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you're kind of choosing. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it because I think it's worth looking at. And there's one thing specifically I want to come back to later about what this actually does to your brain over time, because that part genuinely messed me up when I thought about it. But first, let's talk about why we're even here. So let's start with the obvious. Sad is everywhere. Like, open TikTok right now, scroll for 10 minutes. I promise you, within those 10 minutes, you're gonna hit a girl staring out a rainy window, some slow motion clip with a Lana Del Rey song underneath it, or a quote from a book that's basically just, I am very tired and nobody understands me. And it looks good. That's the thing. It's been made to look good. There's this whole aesthetic, sad girl aesthetic they call it, and it's not just a vibe, it's a genre at this point. Lana Del Rey basically built a career on making sadness sound like the most glamorous thing in the world. And it worked, because it resonated with something real. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't new, like at all. In 1774, Goethe published a book called The Sorrows of Young Werther. It's about a guy who's deeply, dramatically, poetically sad and eventually kills himself over a girl. And when it came out, it became the first viral piece of media in history. Young men across Europe started dressing like Werther, copying his mannerisms, writing like him, and some of them started dying like him too. It got so bad they had to ban the book in some countries. Psychologists now call it the Werther effect, the idea that romanticized depictions of suffering can make people imitate it. Not because they're weak or broken, but because the story made it look meaningful. And that's the key word, meaningful. We're not romanticizing sadness because we enjoy feeling bad. We're romanticizing it because somewhere along the way, we learned that sadness signals depth, that happy people are kind of surface level. But the ones who suffer, they feel things. They're interesting. They're Sylvia Plath writing at 4 a.m. They're Kurt Cobain. They're Ryan Gosling lying in the snow looking devastatingly unbothered. Suffering became a personality trait, and social media didn't create that, but it absolutely turbocharged it. Because here's what TikTok's algorithm actually does. You watch one sad video. Maybe you don't even engage with it. You just watched it. And the algorithm clocks that, and it feeds you another one and another. And before you know it, your entire For You page is this curated echo chamber of melancholy, and you didn't ask for it. It just kind of happened. Except, did it just happen? So here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. Because everything I just described, the aesthetic, the algorithm, the artists we idolize, that's all external. That's the world doing stuff to you. And it's easy to point at that and go, yeah, society bad, media bad, I'm just a victim of my environment. But your brain is also doing something. And your brain is kind of the main character here. When you're sad for long enough, not like one bad day sad, but consistently, chronically, aesthetically sad, your brain adapts. That's what brains do. They're incredibly good at adapting to whatever state you put them in most often. And what that means practically is this. Sadness stops feeling like an interruption. It starts feeling like baseline, like normal. And then happiness, actual happiness, the uncomplicated kind, starts feeling weird, almost suspicious, like something's wrong because nothing's wrong. And so you self-sabotage it, or you dismiss it, or you just wait for it to go away because your brain doesn't fully trust it anymore. You've essentially trained yourself to be more comfortable in the dark than in the light. And then there's the crying thing, because crying is genuinely kind of like a drug. When you cry, your body releases endorphins and oxytocin. It's a physical relief, a reset. People describe it as cathartic, and that's not just poetic language, that's literally what's happening chemically. So your brain starts to associate sadness with that release. And at some point, on some level, it starts chasing it. You put on the sad playlist, you rewatch the scene that wrecked you, you go back to the conversation that hurt, not because you're a masochist, but because somewhere in your brain, it knows that this leads to the cry, and the cry feels like relief. And relief feels good. It's a loop. And it's a genuinely hard loop to notice because from the inside, it just feels like you're processing your emotions. And there's one more thing. Sadness gets you seen. Happy people are kind of invisible socially, like nobody rushes to check on the person who seems fine. But the one who's struggling, they get calls, they get "are you okay" texts, they get presents and attention and care. And I'm not saying people fake sadness for attention. I don't think it's that calculated, but I do think the brain notices. I think it learns quietly that vulnerability and pain are a social currency. That suffering is a way to matter to people. And once it learns that, it doesn't forget. So we've got an aesthetic that makes sadness look beautiful, a culture that treats suffering like depth, an algorithm that traps you in it, a brain that adapts to it and starts craving the release, and a social dynamic that rewards it. That's not a mood, that's a system. So I promised I'd come back to something. I said there's a moment where sadness stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you're choosing. And I want to be really careful here because I don't mean that as an accusation. I mean it as a distinction worth making, because there's a difference between feeling sad and living sad. Feeling sad is human. It's information. It's your brain telling you something matters, something's missing, something needs to change. It's valid and it's necessary. And honestly, some of the best art, music, writing in human history came from people sitting with genuine pain and doing something with it. But living sad? That's when the sadness isn't pointing at anything anymore. It's just the default setting, the aesthetic, the identity, and nothing's actually being processed. Nothing's moving. You're just marinating in it and calling it depth. And the reason I think this matters, the reason I made this video is because I think a lot of people are genuinely confused about which one they're in. Because from the inside, they feel the same. Both feel real, both feel heavy, both come with playlists, but one of them is moving and one of them is just a loop you forgot you could leave. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, go touch grass or choose happiness, because that's not how any of this works. And honestly, if someone said that to me, I'd close the tab immediately. But I will say this, notice what you're feeding, not in a toxic positivity way. Just notice. When you reach for the sad playlist, ask yourself if you're processing something or just maintaining a feeling. When you romanticize your own suffering, ask if it's helping you understand it or just making it prettier. When the algorithm serves you the 5th crying video in a row, ask if you're actually getting something from it or if you're just there. Because the system I described, it's not your fault that it exists, but you're the only one who can decide whether you stay in it. Goethe wrote Werther in 6 weeks, reportedly while going through his own heartbreak. And later in life, he said the book almost killed him too, that writing it was the only thing that saved him from becoming his own protagonist. He processed it, turned it into something, and then he moved. That's the move, I think. Not pretending you're fine, not performing happiness for the algorithm, just at some point deciding that the sadness has told you what it needed to tell you, and then actually listening. Anyway, that's just what I think.